It's interesting that some who try to teach the Bible actually try to say that Pontius Pilate wasn't really a bad guy. Yet in Acts 4:27, Christ's apostles did indeed implicate Pilate as being a guilty party in the murder of Jesus. What did Pilate do that was so wrong? Going from what we know about Pilate in the gospel accounts, it is more about what he did not do. It's especially interesting and pathetic that Pilate did not have Barabbas crucified. Barabbas was a murderer and a robber. Since he caused terror in the realm which Pilate governed, it is only logical to think that Pilate would have been very happy to not have to deal with Barabbas anymore. In the case of Barabbas, it was a situation where his execution would have been just and totally appropriate. This was a case where a man in power could righteously destroy someone who opposed him. Justice demands that murderers be put to death. God's own word says that he ordained earthly governments to execute wrath upon criminals. Yet the same idolatry of self preservation, which pushed Pilate to deliver Jesus to be wrongfully crucified, also pushed him to let a murderer go free, which he righteously could have and should have executed. And by the way, the custom that Pilate release a Jewish criminal at the Passover was not of God. The fact that the Romans were pressured to have this custom is a reflection of how wicked the Jews had become. God never intended the celebration of Passover to prevent his command about the death penalty being administered to murderers, see Genesis 9:6, from being carried out. Why do people struggle and struggle with sin and yet never really get free from it? They're not willing to really die to self and suffer for not giving in to sin and rather doing what they ought to do. As long as that is so with an individual, they are candidates to succumb to whatever sin might tempt them in certain circumstances, and they are candidates to do whatever evil they think they must do to preserve whatever they regard as valuable in their life, which is being threatened. It's obvious from Pilate's conversation with Jesus, which is recorded in John chapter 18, verses 33 to 38, that Pilate was willing to inquire about truth, yet diligently seeking the truth, siding with the truth, and walking in the truth was not Pilate's supreme concern. He was about to prove that further and continue that way. Pilate's career, reputation, security, self esteem, etc., were what he ultimately valued rather than truth and righteousness before the living God. Otherwise, he would have risked these things and contended even to death if necessary, with the satanic mob seeking to crucify a righteous man. Pilate really was evil for refusing to put his own neck on the line and shed his own blood for truth and righteousness in God's eyes. That is why we need to label his behavior, as it is recorded in the Gospels, the evil way of Pontius Pilate.